Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Smith. I am joined today by two esteemed guests for our next episode of As a Matter of Fact. We have Lisa Marshall and Christina Walrond on the line. Lisa, Christina, would love to pass it over to you both to introduce yourselves.
I'm Lisa Marshall. I'm the Director for Outreach, Retention, and Engagement at North Carolina's Nuclear Engineering Department. Been involved in the industry for, 20 plus years in a number of different capacities. Also associated with the American Nuclear Society, sitting on a number of their committees.
Hi, I'm Christina Walrond, and I lead engagement for the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations Advanced Nuclear Portfolio within the Department of Energy. And so that covers the X Energy and the TerraPower demonstration projects that were awarded through the Advanced Reactor Demonstration Program.
Yeah, thank you both so much for the introductions. I would love to start with this notion of what is your vision for the next generation clean energy workforce, and how do we reach that?
I would like to see an empowered and diverse workforce that is, really able to help this country meet the unprecedented energy transition challenge that we're facing. I think that it's not just a challenge, though; it's also an opportunity, and it's one that so many different people can play in. I think that is such an opportunity for folks with community college or technical training to have really high road, well paying jobs in a clean energy economy and the advanced nuclear economy. There's an incredible potential for those with college and postgraduate degrees to really help advance us through the technologies that we'll need to answer all of the challenges that come with this type of transition. And then I think that there's an incredible opportunity for retraining and upskilling workers who are in our energy workforce today and have so many of the skills that will be applicable. And, what I would like to see is a greater understanding of the types of roles that are out there and how folks can, really meaningfully play a role in this transition and help us achieve, a true decarbonized energy system. And I think that that knowledge is going to be absolutely critical. These two things are completely interconnected, our ability to achieve these goals and to build this workforce. We know that without the workforce of the future, it's going to be incredibly challenging to get projects completed well and online. And, we're facing a ticking clock.
I'm interested to know both of your thoughts on what those programs could look like as we think about coal to nuclear transitions and what is required to make sure that the current workforce is prepared for this workforce of the future.
Yeah, well, I think that we have a fantastic example within the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations in the department's portfolio right now, and that is the TerraPower project in Kemmerer, Wyoming. And I think that this is a standout example of how integrating workforce considerations from the earliest stages of a project can really facilitate success. And it also shows the opportunity space for a transition for the existing energy workforce in a future advanced nuclear community. So, for those who aren't familiar, I suspect many listeners will be, but Kemmerer is primarily a coal town. It has a coal mine and a coal plant that has been really the economic hub of the community. And that coal plant was slated for retirement, totally independent of the nuclear project. And so, a number of communities in Wyoming actually effectively, raised their hands and said they would be interested in the TerraPower Natrium demonstration project. And ultimately, Kemmerer was selected. This is a community that knows energy. They're familiar with it. There's a lot of pride in their core competencies that are incredibly useful for the nuclear sector. And so TerraPower as well, I would commend them in seeing this opportunity and committing to, retraining and working with the existing employees of that coal plant to help them transition to a role at the advanced nuclear facility. And so, we're in the early stages of that project now, but TerraPower in the community are already thinking through what that will look like. They're working with local community colleges to look at the skilled training programs that will be necessary and establish those ahead of time, and really to start that transition. I think one of the myths that we try to dispel is that, everyone who works in a nuclear plant needs to be a nuclear engineer. And certainly there are roles for nuclear engineers in nuclear plants, but 80% of the staff at a nuclear plant is projected to have an associate's or community college training level degree, and those are incredibly good jobs, incredibly well-paying jobs that can really offer a gateway to a range of career paths in the future energy economy, and can really set folks up well within these communities to self-determine their career paths. And I think as well, it behooves us to talk about that as much as we can to set folks on the path now to having the jobs and wanting the jobs in the 2030s, 40s, and 50s that we know are going to be absolutely necessary to making these things happen. To me, it's mutually beneficial. It's great for the country, it's great for the economy, and it's also fantastic for the workforce.
Yeah, you all have captured the essence of what this workforce will look like. It reminded me of our role that we play in ensuring that this next generation and the transition to a carbon free energy future is just and it's equitable. And so I'm curious to hear from a workforce perspective, what does this mean to you, and how can we ensure that we are going about it in a way that is both just and equitable?
Oh, I've got so many thoughts on this. I so it's for me, it's always been relationship building, right? And sometimes we forget that step. And what's the saying? Go slow to go fast. Because if the foundation is not firm, what we do next may or may not sustain, right? So to me, it's about co-learning with the various communities, finding out what their particular needs are and exploring and learning which sets of technologies are appropriate for the communities. So I'm really about relationship building at the very core, right? And understanding that there are going to be times where everyone will be at the table, and even if everyone is not at the table, that we are thinking through what is not there and what is not said, and reaching out to individuals that can lend their particular perspectives, right? Um, so for me, it's not about citing anything without some co-learning about community and the needs.
I totally agree. I think that it is so important to do more listening than talking. I think that's going to be important as we select communities, who are going to be building some of these new first few of a kind projects. At our office, we say that we want to build, our mission is to build the first few of a kind in such a way that the market can pick up and build the next, many of a kind. And there are technology implications to that, and financial implications to that, but just as important are the community implications to that. Because I think that the way these first few of a kind are demonstrated from a community perspective is going to be so important in terms of how other communities make the decisions in years to come about new technologies for them.
I also wanted to add that when we're looking at community members and the diversity within any given community, that they are also participating in the educational and economic, the educational component to um, uh, the technologies that we're looking at, right? So that relationship building means that I'm going to continue to put back on my university hat, right? We're going into the community. We are then talking about the various opportunities, educational wise, to be part of the bright future, right? Or the continuing bright future. And the role then that they can have on impacting their community.
I'm interested to know both of your thoughts on how do we encourage current students to pursue opportunities in the nuclear energy space, but just energy more broadly. What is your advice to those prospective students?
In this particular space, we've been trying to attract, retain, and get that enthusiastic kind of feel for energy, right? Energy, I think, is sexy, right? But others may not necessarily. We think about the products that utilize the energy that is produced as opposed to the energy, the formation of the energy. And to put that in terms so that students take a second look and go, wait a minute. Yeah, that's societal good. And I can see myself in that space, right? And that enthusiasm about that societal good. So we talk a lot about the technical components of it, but can we craft that story that is inspirational, that is talking about the ubiquitousness of the technology itself and how in how we have industrialized and are continuing to industrialize, right? Based on that story. I always think that if you can engage a student in seeing themselves there and the larger narrative, then you've got a chance to then talk about, well, are you a chemistry person or are you a physics person, right? So that's where I come from, and in this sense of that empowerment, and it's all to me, it's always has been about the narrative and making that connection with those students.
I mean, these are all really important pieces. And I think that, Lisa is absolutely the expert on the education side, but to me, the earlier that we can expose students to the pathways that they might be able to consider, the more that we can talk in communities about, the job opportunities that might be available, within a community and then also within a region. I think the more we can help to facilitate and build a workforce of the future. And I think it's a very exciting time. I think that there's just so much potential for growth and so much potential to for students and for existing workers to determine what matters to them and really tailor a role that will be one that they feel good about in terms of their job future.
But on that note, I would love to turn it over to you both for any closing thoughts that you have about workforce development, what that looks like, and the role of nuclear energy in accomplishing that workforce.
We have been incredibly positive, and I think the future is bright. But I want to add a sense of urgency in terms of my closing remarks. We are at a time where we are demonstrating all sorts of new technologies, including new nuclear. And, the number one question from utilities, investors, end users is, will these technologies be able to be built on time and on budget? Ultimately, I think, we are here to absorb first of a kind costs and risks. And I think that everyone accepts that. But, frankly, workforce and the availability of a skilled workforce is absolutely at the center of our ability to make our infrastructure happen. And so we have to prioritize a good, strong, well paid, well educated workforce with the skill set that we need to really make this clean energy future happen. It's absolutely critical in order to set us on the path and then maintain a path. We estimate that, we are going to need a really strong pipeline of advanced nuclear technologies and nuclear projects. And, the workforce there is going to be totally critical for those to be able to happen on time and, when we need them to. And so I think the time really is now to think through the community pieces that are so important and to be good stewards of that, and to pull together the training programs and encourage folks to become a part or consider becoming a part of them in order to set us up really on a path for that workforce pipeline that we need for the future.
I agree totally. Right. When I talk with students, potential students or prospective students, and then also our current students, as to why are you considering this particular path, and two of the comments that they respond with is one, they're looking for a challenge, right? And there's so many moving parts to what we do in the energy industry, what we do in the nuclear industry, that yes, challenge accepted, and they're with us, right? And they're propelling along, and just the look on their faces as they learn new material. They're able to experience it through internships and co-ops, in lab experiments, etc. And then the other aspect is societal good and making sure that that connection is made, right? And when they see it, the light bulb goes off. Now they're on a mission, right? On a mission to have impact, and they know that they're going to be making an impact with energy. Period. Right? They know they're going to be making an impact with nuclear energy in particular. So we're in partnership for a better world. And when I see that look on the face and they're able to articulate it in their own words, right? And I'm only using some of what they've said to me, I think we're on the right path.
Thank you both so much for spending your time with us here at Nuclear Matters. And I just want to thank you again for your insight and perspective for this really important and insightful discussion.